Hello, all you weirdos. Jim here, and welcome back to the Weird Science Comics YouTube channel, where I'm going to be doing another kind of like off the top of my head video. I thank everybody who ended up checking out my first off review on this week's Amazing Spider-Man. Joe Kelly started this run, but also the deal I did with Nick Lowe, and that actually inspired me to do more. I was actually going to do, and I have a video planned. I was going to do it yesterday, but you know, life got in the way, as they say. Actually, I just didn't feel good, so I didn't do that. But I'll be doing that coming up. It actually has to do with the new 52, so people can look out for that. But this is just a video I decided to make, again, because the solicits came out. And I do think that this month I'm going to try to do the DC and Marvel solicit shows as well. They take a while. They end up taking a lot of time to do them, but they're kind of fun to do. So people, if you had watched the previous ones, it's been quite some time. Maybe that'll float your boat, as they say in the Navy. But when all that goes on, it does keep me kind of involved, and I realize things, because I'll be on the podcast now. Is this a 6-issue mini? Is this an ongoing? And it kind of is, because I haven't been doing the solicits podcast that informs me and you alike. But this video is about the solicits, one solicit in particular. And when they did end up dropping the solicits, I got at least 3 messages from people like, oh my God, did you see they're going to de-age Jon Kent? I'm like, oh, holy crap. Like, where's that happening? Action Comics and the Supermans? Like, oh, Shazam. That's odd. So I go over and I look at the solicit. I got right back to these 3 people. I'm like, don't hold your breath. I mean, first off, it's just a one-shot in Shazam. And it's done by Sina Grace, who is one of my least favorite writers in all of comics. And it is kind of personal. I ended up getting an argument. But say it was an argument about hockey. Now, again, I don't know Sina Grace, but I played hockey most of my life. I ended up watching hockey. And he had an issue where he just didn't get it. And I ended up like, oh, man. And all I was saying, like, hey, next time you do this, that's not how it works, right? And he blocked me immediately. I was like, he tried to, like, says you. I'm like, no, says everyone, jerk. And then he blocked me, and I'm like, all right, well, maybe it was because I called him a jerk, but I didn't then. I just did now. But again, Sina Grace, I think, is a hack. I think he's actually a better editor than a writer. But in the meantime, I don't think he's much of a writer. As a writer, he's an okay editor. And so when you have him coming in, dealing with Jon Kent in the Shazam, like I said, don't hold your breath. They're going to be, even the solicit, which I'll read in a minute. This is not going to be the moment where we get back a younger Jon Kent. It's just going to end up Scooby-Dooing by the end and going back to normal. Normal being in air quotes, because most people, and I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this video, want a young Jon Kent. I think that there's a point where even they have to kind of sit there and say, yeah, going back now, it would be odd. But there's some people who'll never say that. Tevye is one of them. Tevye is desperate to get back the old young Jon Kent. I just kind of go either way. My whole play in it is, if you can give me a good story, then I don't mind whatever. They just haven't really given us a good Jon Kent story since he's been aged up. But we'll see. It could happen. But here is the solicit, and then we'll talk a little bit about what all this is and some theories. And maybe we could crack the code. But it is Shazam number 20. Shazam with an exclamation point. A special guest writer stops in to tell a very special one-off story. Right there, it just tells you. But Jonathan Kent, son of Superman, is in Philly when something funny happens to the Rock of Eternity. I thought it was going to say something happens funny on Ogons Avenue. Believe me, people, nothing funny happens on Ogons Avenue. You could get the funniest comedians in all the history of the world, and it's not going to be funny if they're in Ogons Avenue, because they're going to get killed. Is what's going to happen. Believe me, don't go there. I am from the Philadelphia area, by the way, loud and proud, but I also know a shithole when I see a shithole, and that kind of is a lot of what Philadelphia is, but it's my shithole, so stop. John is caught in the lightning and transforms back into a little boy, while Jon gets a second chance at childhood. I don't think it's going to quite involve what he really did miss, like, his mom and dad raising him and things like that. He's probably going to end up doing goofy stuff. I swear to God, I almost imagine that he's going to end up on Dinosaur Island. They always end up on Dinosaur Island. Billy better figure out how to get the grown super son back before the world misses him. So you end up this being written by Sina Grace with art by Dan McDade. And so when you have that, I just want to tell you, like, this is what I think this is the play. You end up where Bendis, he ends up getting so much flack for aging up, Jon. So he's begged them. I don't know why they're listening to him because, he got kicked to the curb. He's doing his own little thing, whatever. But he's like, listen, I'm sick of people at conventions blaming me for doing it. Can we please do something about this? And like, okay, well, what we'll do is, because if Billy's the one who ends up getting him back to Bendis, is just like, it's not me, it's Billy Batson. And then people hate Philadelphia so much. They're like, that Philadelphia, we'll get him. Of course, if Gritty was in this, then all bets would be off. It'd be solved. But my joke, though, is that Billy now will be the big villain because he's the one. And I love the idea. It's Billy better figure out how to get the grown super. No. How about just take a little breather on this? Take a time out, Billy. We'll be fine with it. And in fact, I think that at a point, if you ended up having, young Jon Kent go and almost like Big goes back to his mom and dad, Lois and Clark, I think they'd be good with it. I think they would be good with it. I don't actually think, except, a couple things, I think most people would be good with it, including fans. But it's not what Sina Grace is going to do. Obviously, he's not going to do that. But what I think the issue will end up being, and this is where I think that people will be annoyed with it, especially, and again, this is that play, and people have said before, you kept going back to the Super Sons book, and you had to make like little idea. Oh, this is like in between these two issues. This is right before Bendis did. But obviously, you were putting out books because you knew or thought they would sell, hoped at least that they would sell. So why would you do that if you think that the be-all, end-all is an older Jon Kent? So what I think that is going to happen here, and Tevye and all the rest of the, young Jon, De-Aging Jon crew, they're going to get, because I think that Sina Grace is going to play out the idea of, we're going to see why Jon desperately wants to get back to aged up. You're going to see it, and it's probably their ideas will show how important it is to Jon so that everybody will be down with it now. All it is it really is throwing salt in the wound. And I talked to some people on Twitter about it, including Tevye, and the idea is we're not going to buy it. I'm telling you, this is the double-edged sword here. It's the Sophie's choice. Obviously, a lot of people don't want to support anything that deals with Jon not getting de-aged completely and, going forward. So they're not going to buy it. But I do think that the double-edged sword is DC will then use the numbers like, oh, look what we did. We let you see him for a little. He ended up in an issue DH and it sold like shit. So obviously nobody cares. And then you get that. One of the worst things I hate anyway. If somebody says something, especially on Twitter, and this goes back to Nick Lowe again, the idea that you're like, man, I want Jon to be DH. And then you have the person you're yelling at or talking, discussing, and like, oh, that's just the vocal majority. No, asshole, it's me. It's me here. I'm a fan, and that's what I want. Yeah, when you say everybody wants it, obviously not everybody. But I hate the idea when somebody tries to like make their point. It happened at New York City Comic Con when Nick Lowe was a complete asshole. The idea that you don't have to throw it past just that one person. If you go and say, boy, I really wish that Jon would get DH. And you say you're saying that to a Tom Taylor who was writing the Jon Kent books. He doesn't have to go half cocked off about the idea of, you people. No. Just discuss it with them. Find out why. Because a lot of people, it's not just, yelling at clouds. They actually do want it for a reason. A lot of the fans, and I am a fan of young Jon Kent. I sit there, I just throw my hands up. I'm an older guy. I'm like, I can't help anything. They're not going to listen to me. But what I feel like, again, we missed was him, growing up and learning things and doing things with kids his own age and things like that. And when you did end up aging him up, you did it in such an artificial way of there was no ramifications. He has this kid would be so screwed up. He was in a volcano getting screamed at by a doppelganger, an evil doppelganger of his father. And then for some reason later says, I just kind of thought that Nightwing would save me. Nightwing, what is he going to do? Get in a rocket? What is he, the Rocket Man? He ain't going to be able to help you. Obviously, you would have thought, but time was dilated, all that stuff going on. So overall, again, this is just me saying that I don't know. Maybe you should buy it because that might show people that. But again, I think that Sina Grace will play the whole way of, oh, look, we're going to show you why it's important that he aged up and what he's missing. And, you'll have all that stuff. And really, the only person who would miss or go, it would be Jay Nakamura. And who cares? That guy. Who cares about that guy? Like, he'd be kind of sad. But I don't know. I was just going to say, maybe somehow there's like the de-aging machine and he gets de-aged too, but still. It's just a weird situation. It's not quite as big as, say, Spider-Man married to MJ, but it's pretty big for a lot of people. And this just, again, feels like, hey, this is the thing that you want, but we're going to do it in a stupid way, magic, rock of attorney, and then we'll just yank it from you at the end. So I don't expect this to be, really over the top popular or sell any more than the book is. And it's not selling well. That series, it's not very good. It's okay. It skews more as like almost like now a all ages book, but Josie Campbell, the regular writer on it, I don't think is doing a great job. It's almost like a book going through the motions. I expected that these solicits were actually going to say that it was finished. Maybe it'd be weird. Maybe it is. Maybe we'll have this special guest one shot and it'll just end it and it never comes back, but we'll see. And there's a lot of Shazam fans too. So it's a weird play to have John in this, but they figured use the Rock of Attorney and magic with it. But yeah, in the comments, let me know if you're going to buy the issue, if you don't like Sina Grace as much as I don't like Sina Grace, or if you are a fan of John actually aged up, you like the things going on, and maybe you'll get this issue. But again, this is kind of a prelude to possibly doing some of the solicits videos and things like that. So again, a little scattered, but I said, this is kind of off the top of my head. I just ended up getting done recording our live stream of the Absolute Batman #2. That's on the feed as well, or feed. It's on the channel. So if you haven't listened to that and want to listen, let's talk about that. We go over an hour. We have a lot of nonsense talk. There's a lot of things that come up, but we are having fun with that. And as we go forward, just to let everybody know that anytime, if you're into it, an Absolute DC book comes out, we're going to do a live stream that week on Fridays at 7:15. It starts. It's a weird time, but we usually record at 7. So what me and Eric do is we get together at 7 and then kind of get things together. Start at 7:15, and maybe I can convince them that even when we don't have a book, maybe we can do some, wacky show or something, just talk about a random topic or something like that. But we'll see. You gotta pressure old Eric Shea. He'll do it, but he ain't doing it for free. He'll come to the show, but he don't come cheap. So you have to let him know. I don't know how, because he's kind of a hermit. But, maybe if you see him at the Walmart here in Quakertown, you could yell to him, "Hey, jerk, do some more live shows." But we'll see. We'll try to do that. But I hope everybody enjoyed this. I hope that you like just me popping in and doing some videos like that. Like I said, I have a video in the works about the new 52. And actually, it is not a defense of the new 52. It's more of me wondering if there's anybody else besides me who likes the new 52. So I'll put that up. I'll get that done hopefully this weekend. So look for that as well as reviews and all that jazz. But thanks, everybody. Let me know what you think of this issue, and I'll be back with a solicit show as well. So thanks, everybody, and I'll talk to you all later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.